It was a cold Wednesday morning in January 1998 when Connie Jarvis walked hand in hand with her 5-year-old daughter, Brittany Locklear, down their long driveway in Hope County, North Carolina. The two made the nearly 200-yard walk from their front porch to the end of the road, where Brittany waited each day for her yellow school bus. The rural setting was quiet, with the nearest houses far apart, surrounded by open land and trees. Brittany was wrapped tightly in her little red coat, the one people described as looking like something out of Little Red Riding Hood. The morning chill nipped at the air, but she stood bravely, bundled against the winter cold. Normally, Connie stayed until she saw Brittany step safely onto the bus. She told her daughter she would return right away, and if the bus had not arrived by then, she would stand beside her again. It was supposed to be just a quick trip into the house. When she looked toward the road, Brittany was gone. At first, Connie felt relief, thinking her little girl had climbed aboard the bus. Believing everything was fine, she started walking back toward the house to begin her day. Moments later, there was a sudden knock at her door. Standing outside was her neighbor, Rose Johnson, her face pale with panic. Rose's words were almost impossible to take in. She thought Brittany had been taken. Rose explained she had been keeping an eye on her own children as they waited for their bus, when she noticed a strange scene. A truck came speeding around the curve, slowed quickly near the driveway, and someone jumped out. Rose believed Brittany had been pulled into the vehicle before it drove off. Rose admitted she had not seen the driver's hands actually grab the child, but something about the truck's movements seemed wrong. At first, she questioned herself, but then as her children's bus arrived and rolled past without stopping for Brittany, everything suddenly made sense. Fear gripped her, and she ran straight to Connie's door. Connie tried to remain calm. She thought maybe Brittany had indeed gotten on the bus, so she had someone drive her quickly to the school to be sure. They reached the school even before the bus did. She prayed this would ease her fears, that she would see Brittany step off safely. But when the bus finally pulled up, Brittany was not on it. Her driver, Nancy, explained she had noticed Brittany missing at the stop, but assumed her mother or stepfather had taken her that morning. The sight of Connie waiting shattered that assumption. It was clear now Brittany had not boarded the bus at all. Connie immediately called 911. Interestingly, the operator told her she was not the first caller. That suggested Rose, or perhaps someone else, had already phoned authorities. Whoever it was, the important thing was that the sheriff's office already had details. Rose's description of the suspect's vehicle had reached investigators. According to what Rose's children reported, the abductor was a white man driving a brown truck, equipped with a rack of lights across the roof. That unique feature made the vehicle stand out, although the kidnapper could easily remove the lights to avoid being recognized. Still, this clue gave law enforcement a starting point. The Hope County Sheriff's Office launched an immediate, large-scale search. Dozens of deputies scoured the fields, woods, and roadsides. A helicopter from the North Carolina Highway Patrol used infrared equipment to scan the ground, though strong winds soon forced it to land. Officers were determined to use every available resource to find Brittany quickly. Investigators also considered the possibility of a family connection. They drove to Pembroke, about half an hour away, to question Brittany's biological father. According to reports, he had not been present in her life since her birth. Still, detectives needed to eliminate every lead. After the interview, they were convinced he was not involved in the disappearance. Back in Hope County, volunteers, neighbors, and officials joined forces to continue the desperate search. The story spread quickly through the community. Parents held their own children closer, shaken by the thought that someone had boldly taken a little girl in broad daylight while she waited for her ride to school. Rose replayed what she had seen again and again in her mind. The speeding truck, the sudden stop, the door swinging open, and the strange disappearance that followed. It all fit together in a horrifying way. Although she had not witnessed the exact moment of contact, her instincts told her that Brittany had been forced inside that truck. Her quick decision to run to Connie's house may have been the reason police had information to work with almost immediately. Connie, meanwhile, could barely process what was happening. Just minutes earlier, she had kissed her daughter goodbye, certain she would be safe on the bus. Now she was standing among deputies, giving details about her child's clothing, her red coat, her small stature, her sweet personality. The reality that Brittany had vanished right outside their home was almost impossible to believe. Officers collected every piece of information they could. Witnesses described the suspect as a white male, though no clear age was given. The brown truck, with its overhead lights, became the central focus of the manhunt. Patrol cars drove through nearby towns, looking for a vehicle that matched the description. Roadblocks were considered. Flyers were prepared. Time was critical. In cases of child abduction, the first hours are the most important. Law enforcement knew the longer Brittany remained missing, the harder it would be to bring her home alive. The case drew reporters from nearby cities, including Fayetteville. Articles later written explained the chilling sequence of events: the short moment Connie left, the sighting by Rose and her children, the uncertainty about who called police first, and the way every clue hinged on those few crucial minutes. Neighbors in rural Hope County, usually accustomed to quiet mornings, now faced the terrifying truth that danger had struck at the end of an ordinary driveway. The close-knit community rallied to help, offering tips, searching fields, and praying for Brittany's safe return. That morning marked the beginning of one of the most heartbreaking searches the county had ever faced. What began as a normal walk down the driveway, with a child bundled warmly against the winter air, had turned in an instant into every parent's nightmare. Connie's voice on the 911 call carried both shock and determination. She wanted nothing more than to hold her daughter again. Rose's frightened words rang in her ears, echoing the impossible reality. Brittany had been taken before anyone could stop it. The investigation pressed forward, fueled by urgency, community support, and the hope that one small detail, a truck's lights, a neighbor's observation, or a clue left behind, might lead them to the little girl in the red coat. The man seen near the scene was described as white, driving a brown pickup with bright overhead lights. That detail stood out, making the vehicle easier to track, unless the driver removed the lights. The Hope County Sheriff's Office quickly began a large search. Deputies spread out on land, while the Highway Patrol sent up a helicopter equipped with infrared cameras. Strong winds forced the chopper to land shortly after. At the same time, a deputy and an agent from the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation traveled to Pembroke, about half an hour from Rayford, to question Brittany's biological father. He had not been involved in her life since birth, so suspicion was low, but they checked anyway. By the end of the interview, investigators concluded he had no role in the disappearance. The first person to notice something unusual was a woman living nearby. She hadn't directly seen anyone grab Brittany, but she did spot something strange before her children boarded the bus. When the bus didn't stop at Brittany's house, she realized something was wrong and hurried to inform Connie, Brittany's mother. Connie tried to stay composed as she called the police. Hoping Brittany was safe, she rushed to the school, but when the bus arrived, Brittany was not there. The bus driver, Nancy, thought Brittany's mother or stepfather had taken her to school, but seeing Connie waiting changed everything. At that point, it was clear Brittany was missing. The operator told her she wasn't the first caller, which suggested Rose or someone else had already reported the incident. Either way, Rose's account of the truck and driver reached officers quickly, even though she herself had been indoors. Her children, who were outside, gave the critical description. That same description launched the large-scale search. Deputies combed fields and woods. Officers also investigated Brittany's father again, but once more, he was ruled out. Brittany belonged to the Lumbee tribe, deeply rooted in the region. Around 11% of Hope County's residents were Lumbee, with higher percentages nearby. The tribe had a strong history of uniting during crises, even standing up against the Ku Klux Klan in the 1950s. When Brittany disappeared, the Lumbee people came together once more. Investigators watched closely at her memorial service for suspicious actions, but nothing significant stood out. The sheriff asked local TV channels for footage to analyze. Other brown trucks were stopped, their drivers questioned, but none were linked. Officers interviewed sex offenders in the region and looked into past abductions, leaving no option unexplored. Brittany's parents also gave samples and took lie detector tests, cooperating fully. They were cleared as suspects. The FBI built a profile of the offender, advising the public to look out for sudden changes in appearance, mood, or daily routine. Rumors also surfaced about George Marston, the elementary school principal, who was said to sometimes drive Brittany. He denied it, explaining he had only considered the idea but never acted. Connie confirmed she usually watched her daughter board the bus, except on the morning Brittany vanished. George was questioned twice but never became a main suspect. The months dragged on. Leads poured in, nearly 2,000 in total, but little progress followed. A man matching several points in the profile raised hopes, but eventually he was ruled out. Leadership changes also disrupted the investigation. When a new sheriff took office, his team reviewed the case from the beginning. Later, they even reconsidered if the truck might have been another color, or if the driver's race had been misidentified, widening the search. Years passed with accusations, political battles, and dead ends. At one point, family members were even blamed without solid proof, devastating them further. Another lead surfaced when a firefighter at Fort Bragg was found with photos of Brittany. Investigators considered him suspicious, but later ruled him out after DNA testing. By 2009, a fresh review began. Yet despite renewed efforts, the case dragged into another decade. In 2020, the sheriff at the time vowed once more to solve it, reminding the community that Brittany's story still mattered deeply. Sheriff Peter Quinn insisted the investigation was still active, with his office chasing every lead. His determination to solve Brittany's case never faded, and even after his death in 2021, his devotion stood strong. His relentless fight for justice became a lasting part of his legacy and memory. Thank you for watching and keeping Brittany's story alive. If you found this video meaningful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss future true crime cases we cover. Your support helps these stories reach more people, and together we can keep the conversation going.